All right, welcome back to the channel. Vasyl Lomachenko comes up with a cockamamie excuse, and the media is buying it. Wow. If Deontay Wilder could only get the same treatment when he doesn't make excuses. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So, in another edition of how certain fighters get privileges that other fighters do not, Vasyl Lomachenko has now made two excuses for why he lost to Teofimo Lopez. Now, not too long ago, if you recall, Deontay WIlder lost to Tyson Fury. You have not actually heard Deontay WIlder make any excuses, but that did not stop the mainstream media from concocting those stories and throwing them on top of Deontay WIlder. But when Vasyl Lomachenko gives an excuse to you straight to your face, it's, I guess that explains it. So the question is, when is a reason that somebody gives you an excuse versus an explanation? What is it that makes Vasyl Lomachenko and his reasons for losing just an explanation, while certain other fighters, if they lose and they say a word, they're just making up terrible excuses? And obviously what this is a scenario where in boxing, it's an excuse. It's an excuse if you believe it. I mean, it's an excuse if you don't believe it. It's an explanation if you believe it. If you are predisposed to dislike the guy and want him to do badly, then whatever reason you get from him is it's an excuse. But if you like somebody and you root for them and you don't want to eat your crow that's out there when they get put out there like a hype job, all of a sudden it's an explanation. So, but let's go through Vasyl Lomachenko's explanations and Deontay Wilder's excuses, and you will find that they are somewhat similar. Now, Lomachenko had two excuses. Deontay Wilder had one excuse that he actually gave, and the media accepted one and rejected the other. And why is it that they do that? But let's look at it. Lomachenko gave two reasons why he lost to Teofimo Lopez. First, he said that he was just robbed. He was the more aggressive person in the second half of the fight. The scorecards were too wide, and then he was, and therefore it's really the judge's fault that he lost the fight. It's not his, right? That's an explanation, right? If you like Vasyl Lomachenko. It's an excuse if you just want to make fun of him, right? Now, personally, I don't think that he's too much off. I do believe that the scorecards were much wider than I would have, not much wider, but a few of them were wider than I would have had them. But doesn't matter. I still agree with the outcome of the card. I think Vasyl Lomachenko lost. But hey, man, if you're a Lomachenko fan, or if you're somebody that wants to still put him on a pound for pound list, because you know Vasyl Lomachenko is superhuman. When he loses, because it's Vasyl, he doesn't drop completely out of the pound for pound list when he loses to somebody that wasn't on the pound for pound list, like Guillermo Rigondeaux did. You remember when Guillermo Rigondeaux was number 5 on the pound for pound list, and Vasyl Lomachenko was number 1, and Guillermo Rigondeaux lost to Vasyl Lomachenko, and he completely disappeared off the map, off of that pound for pound map. Why did Guillermo Rigondeaux go away, but Vasyl Lomachenko goes from number 1 down to number 7 when he lost to Teofimo Lopez, who's not even on the list? Well, all of a sudden, Teofimo was on the list. However, you get my point. Then the other thing now is he says that he was injured, right? He hurt his shoulder. He had shots weeks before the fight, and then he had to go have surgery because, that's why he wasn't throwing punches in the 6th round. So he was robbed, right? And he was injured. Look at Deontay Wilder's. What excuses did he actually give? he said what were put on him. One, he said it was said that his legs were heavy, right? He says, I don't know why my legs were feeling heavy. I don't know. It's like even the carrying the suit was heavy. This is what he says to the media. What does the media say when he says, I don't know what it was? Man, my legs were tired. It's even carrying that suit made me tired. They latch on to the he's saying that the reason it happened was because of his suit. And people paraded this excuse that nobody has ever heard come out of Deontay Wilder's mouth all around the internet for months. You have Andre Ward and Mike Tyson, all kind of other people putting in comments and asking, or Roy Jones Jr. giving explanations and their opinions about things that Deontay Wilder never even said. But yet, he's making the excuses. And Vasyl Lomachenko's got crystal clear explanations that we have to take into consideration, which is why we keep him on that pound-for-pound list as a placeholder for the next guy that don't deserve to be on there that we just want to put on there. But Deontay Wilder said my legs were heavy. Get ran all over the place for that, right? His only excuse, though, that he made was that he didn't want the fight stopped. He told his trainer not to stop the fight because I have a puncher's chance to get anybody out of there at any time. Don't stop the fight. The only thing, that is the only true thing that Deontay Wilder ever complained about in that fight, that you or any of these other people have heard him say out of his own mouth. And you are real selective when you want to choose, when you want to believe secondary and tertiary sources, because sometimes if it ain't Deontay Wilder exactly, it doesn't mean anything. But if it's bad, hey, anybody that might be anywhere around him can share that with you, right? So anyway, all he ever did was say that the fight was stopped. And guess what else? He also had surgery. He also had surgery, an injury in the fight. And I do believe that they said he had an injury before the fight. And then he had surgery for the fight. What do you guys want to do with Deontay Wilder's injury? You want to use that as an excuse for Tyson Fury to be able to pull out of the rematch. But Vasyl Lomachenko, oh, he was injured. In Boxing Scene, you should have read the article, the glowing article in Boxing Scene that let people know why he was injured. And it didn't put it out there, and it was not written as if it was an excuse. It was written as it was a reasonable, rational explanation for why Vasyl Lomachenko underperformed. Now, why is that necessary with Vasyl Lomachenko, and why is that necessary? Why is it necessary with Deontay Wilder for the same group of people to treat them both radically different despite the similarities in their situation? It all has to do with whether or not they want that person, whether or not they want to believe the person or not. With Vasyl Lomachenko, because they said so many things about him. He's so much better than everybody in the history of mankind. He's the greatest fighter in the world. He's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. We've never seen anything like him. He's the greatest since Ali, and then he loses to a prospect. So now you can't accept the explanation that reasonable people would have, that you were just wrong about Vasyl Lomachenko, that this guy is just 14-2, and yes, he was a very good fighter, but no, he was not the second coming of Sugar Ray Robinson. Maybe people were exaggerating to you, right? Maybe you got sold a bill of goods, which you did. So you have to believe it. So, because the saying, it is much easier to convince somebody, to fool somebody, than to convince them that they've been fooled. So maybe you guys are just out there, you've been fooled, and you do not want to back down off of it, right? But on the other side, you wanted to be right about Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder has no skill. Deontay Wilder's a bum. Deontay Wilder has, he throws these windmill punches, and he's going to lose any fight now. You guys had been saying for Deontay Wilder that he was going to get knocked out, and was going to lose for 5 years that he was the champion. You get him one time, in the time that you get him, then it's, oh, he was never good. Because what is it? It affirms what you already believe. But if there's any reasons, right? Like, say somebody doesn't have any, like, you find pictures of guys with no padding over the knuckles of their gloves, or you see a guy with a glove hanging half off, or you see neck wrenches with people covering up people's faces and, you know, putting their glove in the clinch over a guy's nose to keep him from breathing while he's choking up on his head and punching him. All of those type of things, right? That you guys just can't see. And if Deontay WIlder brings up, ain't nothing but an excuse. But if it's somebody else like Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward hits him somewhere near the bet, oh no, that's cheating. He got to go. You know what I'm saying? So, dude, it doesn't surprise me at all. And, hey, and that's why I'm saying don't build up Teofimo Lopez more than what he deserves, because you'll be going through the same thing. Whenever you keep people from growing and fighting the best competition, eventually their skills will atrophy. And that is what happened to Lomachenko. His skills stopped developing because he was coddled, and it atrophied, and eventually he got beat. But that's my take, and that ain't no excuse. That's an explanation. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.